Dillian the Body Snatcher right here. It's a champ. Big up to Sporting Icon. Subscribe. Otherwise, I might pay you guys a visit.
Okay, so I hope you all had a great Christmas yesterday. Enjoy spending time with your family. Of course, I did, which is why I didn't upload any videos yesterday. But that hasn't stopped a lot of you watching some of the recent videos and, of course, commenting, most notably around the Tyson Fury versus Dillian Whyte situation. Now, I thought I pretty much covered everything, but like always, there always seems to be something that pops up that makes me go, oh yeah, I never really thought about that one beforehand. So, hence this video. Now, when it comes to Tyson Fury versus Dillian Whyte, obviously the biggest talking point is the split. That's the biggest talking point. We can all act like we're experts. We can all say, oh, well, the split should be this, this, and that. And again, I'm going to talk into it and I'm going to give you my opinion as to what I think the split should be in this video as well. But to say that it should be 80-20 in favour of Tyson Fury, firstly, that ain't going to happen. So wipe that from your mind. Okay, that is not going to happen. If it does, I'll be very, very surprised. Very, very surprised. Meaning, Dillian Whyte, he's the interim champion, so he gets up to 45%. I'm not saying he gets 45%. I've never said that. I'm saying he gets up to 45% of the purse because he's the interim champion. If he was just a mandatory challenger, he would get 30%. So what we do know is going to be between 30% and 45%. Okay? So 20%, Frank Warren talking absolute bollocks. Now, people who say Dillian Whyte should just accept it, if you believe you can defeat Tyson Fury, just take the fight no matter what, yada, yada, yada. Well, you wouldn't. If you knew that you could, at a minimum, you'll get 30%, at a minimum, why would you just accept 20%? Why would you do that? You wouldn't. You wouldn't do that, so don't expect him to do that. Now, again, I don't know what split Dillian Whyte would feel comfortable with. I don't know, okay? It's not something that I've asked him. I've never asked him that, actually. And I probably never will because it's not really my place. That's his own private business. But this is a general talking point. So, of course, I'm going to talk about it and give my thoughts and opinions on it. Now, if you think that it should be based on recent earnings, okay. Was you saying that when Tyson Fury and Anthony Joshua were negotiating, when they both agreed to 50-50, when based on recent earnings, Anthony Joshua earns 2-3 times the amount of what Tyson Fury's biggest payday has been. So shouldn't the split be heavily favour in Anthony Joshua? Shouldn't it be at 80-20 in front of for Anthony Joshua? Well, no, not that much, but maybe like a 70-30, 65-35 in favour of Anthony Joshua. But no, you're going to say it's 50-50 because then it's not about money earned, but with Fury and Dillian Whyte, it is. Now, let's be honest about this. Tyson Fury versus Dillian Whyte is a stadium fight. We know it's going to be a stadium fight anyway. Eddie Hearn's already mentioned stadium. Frank Warren has already mentioned stadium. Bob Arum has already mentioned stadium. What stadium? The Principality Stadium, the Millennium Stadium, Cardiff, Wales, 75,000. Now, because it's a stadium, both fighters have to be given the respect because it's a stadium fight. Tyson Fury could not fight anybody else other than Dillian Whyte or an Anthony Joshua in a stadium. Do you think Tyson Fury versus Joe Joyce, they'll talk about a stadium? No. Do you think Tyson Fury versus Ajit Kabiel? No. Tyson Fury versus anybody else? Even Usyk? Maybe Usyk, because obviously it is undisputed. Maybe. But we are talking about it when it comes to Dillian Whyte. That is a stadium fight. So therefore, Dillian Whyte needs to be given respect because he's bringing a lot to this fight. He is bringing a lot. Whether you want to admit that or not, he is. That's why we're talking stadium fight. That's why we're talking 75,000. We're not talking O2 Arena. We're not talking Manchester Arena or the Echo Arena or any arena around the United Kingdom. We're talking stadium. Why? Because it's Fury versus Whyte. This is not Fury versus Joyce. This is not Whyte versus Joyce. This is Fury versus Whyte. This is why it's a stadium fight. So therefore, Dillian is bringing a lot to the party. Tyson Fury is bringing a lot to the party. Both deserve respect. Now, Tyson Fury, A-side. He's a champion. Of course he's the A-side. Ain't nobody disputing that. Dillian Whyte wouldn't be disputing that. Eddie Hearn wouldn't dispute that. I wouldn't dispute that. Nobody would. He is the A-side. He is. But the fact is, when you want to talk about recent earnings, as I said before, you weren't comparing it when it came to Joshua and Fury, so why do it now? But again, it was pointed out to me in one of the recent videos. I forget who it was. I think it was Nathan Kerr. If it was, big up to you, my man. If it was somebody else, I do apologise, because I get so many comments. I do get things muddled up sometimes. But I believe it was Nathan, where he did point out, and he's absolutely correct, which is that Dillian Whyte's last 2 fights, his first one against Povetkin, there was no crowd. He's in Eddie Hearn's back garden. Therefore, 0 gate receipts, 0. In the rematch in Gibraltar, only 500 people were allowed in. So how much money do you think was generated at the gate? Well, how much? And there was no World Heavyweight title on the line. Sure, the interim title was on the line, of course. That's a very important belt. But when it comes to Tyson Fury, his last 2 fights, both been against Wilder. Both have been shown on ESPN, Fox, and BT Sport. They were for the World Heavyweight title. The first fight, or sorry, the rematch with Wilder, that happened in Las Vegas, had a crowd. Okay, it didn't sell out, but still, it did have a good chunk of it. I think it was like, was it 80% of the crowd or something like that, of the capacity? Still, 80% is going to generate a lot of money. A lot of money, especially the kind of prices that they were pumping out. In the third fight was after, again, all the lockdown situation. Again, crowds were allowed back in. Yes, it wasn't sold out, but still, it was a good chunk of the crowd, generated a lot of money. And let's not forget, Tyson Fury and Wilder both got overpaid in both of those fights. Overpaid, to the point where the networks didn't make a profit, because they overestimated that they thought this fight was going to do X amount of pay-per-views, and it didn't. I'm not saying it flopped, not at all. I think 800,000, whatever it was, for their pay-per-views for each fight. I think the rematch was at 850, and the third fight was, 650,000, something like that. Something like that, okay? So they're not really flops, but fact is, they did have a lot of, there's a fair bit of money generated, wasn't there? With the amount of pay-per-views, because it was Fury versus Wilder. Wilder against anybody else, never done that. Fury against anyone else has never done that. Although I think he did quite well against Klitschko. But ordinarily, I mean, did Fury do that well when he fought Otto Wallin or Tom Schwartz? No, he didn't. So the market value of Tyson Fury is only high when he has a good opponent. Other than that, Fury is not Canelo. Fury is not Joshua. Fury is not a Mayweather. Nor is Dillian Whyte, okay? But that's the reality of it. He's not. So to talk like that Dillian Whyte is in this for a payday, sure, he's going to get paid very well. And rightfully so, because he's bringing a lot to this fight. He's bringing a lot to the party. It's Fury versus Whyte, which is why I said before, it's a stadium fight, which is why this fight would do well at the box office. Because it's Fury versus Whyte. Not Fury versus Joyce, not Whyte versus Herkovich, not Fury versus Yoka. This is Fury versus Whyte. That's why. So therefore, Dillian Whyte deserves a good chunk of this pay-per-view, of this split, of this crowd. Whatever it is that this fight makes, he deserves a good split. Not 20%. Now, what percentage should he get? Well, he's interim champion, so he should get 45%, right? But we know that's probably not going to happen. We know WBC are just going to bend over backwards for Tyson Fury, much like they used to do with Wilder. When it comes to Dillian Whyte, they don't care about him. So it's probably going to end up being, as per the arbitrator ruling, it's definitely going to be between 30% and 45%. If it's not, I'll be very surprised. But it was definitely going to be between 30% and 45%. I imagine Dillian will probably get somewhere either 35 or 40%. Would Dillian be happy with that? I have no idea. No idea. But either way, it ain't going to be 20%. Okay? It ain't. And for those of you who are saying that Dillian should not even get his 30% that he's definitely entitled to, a minimum 30%, and should just accept a 20%, jog on. Okay? You're just being an absolute fanboy. Because you don't think about things in the broader scope. As I said, Fury vs. Whyte is a stadium fight. Fury vs. Whyte is a huge mega pay-per-view fight. Without them two fighting each other, neither one of them are in that kind of mega fight. Because neither one of them are fighting Joshua, are they? That's the reality of it. Anyway, I hope I've made my point. We'll have to wait and see. When will it get resolved? Who knows? Will Fury go fight somebody else without the WBC belt being on the line? We don't know. We really don't know. There's going to be a lot of things waiting around. Quite why this arbitrator is taking the piss, as in taking so long, is beyond me. I mean, how busy could he possibly be? Anyway, drop your thoughts below, click thumbs up, subscribe, and I'll catch you all in the next video.